Hello and welcome back to the Old Charles, history hunters and coin collectors. Today, we're diving deep into a classic of British numismatics, the 1966 2-shilling coin, also known as the florin. This coin is a paradox. It's incredibly common, yet it's a vital piece of the puzzle that is Britain's switch to decimal currency. We're going to explore its history, its design, and of course, answer the burning question on everyone's mind. What is a 1966 2-shilling coin worth today? First, let's set the stage. We're in the mid-1960s. Britain is swinging, the Beatles are topping the charts, and the government is preparing for a monumental change. Decimal Day, scheduled for February 15, 1971. For centuries, Britain used a complex system of pounds, shillings, and pence, where there were 12 pence in a shilling and 20 shillings in a pound. The new system would be a simple 100 new pence to the pound. The 2-shilling coin, or florin, was a key player in this old system. Worth 1/10 of a pound, it was almost a decimal pioneer in its own right. But the 1966 issue was special. It was the last 2-shilling coin ever minted for circulation in Britain. After Decimal Day, it continued to circulate, now valued at 10 new pence, until it was eventually phased out by the smaller, copper-nickel 10p coin in the early 1990s.so. The 1966 florin is a farewell coin. It's the final bow of a denomination that had been in use for over 100 years. Now, let's look at the coin itself. The reverse design, created by the artist Edgar Fuller and the sculptor Cecil Thomas, is the famous English rose. This design was introduced in 1953 to celebrate the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II, and features a beautifully detailed Tudor rose in the center, with a thistle, leek, and shamrock emerging from it, representing Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. That it's a wonderfully British design, a last hurrah of symbolic, floral artistry before the more modern, geometric designs of the decimal era. Have the portrait of a young Queen Elizabeth II. This is the Mary Gillick portrait. It was the first portrait used on UK coins after her accession, and was used on pre-decimal coins from 1953 all the way until 1970. You'll notice she's wearing a laurel wreath, a classical design that gives the coin a timeless feel. The inscription reads, Plus Elizabeth II di Gratia Regina F.D., which is Latin for Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith. All right, let's get to the heart of the matter. You found a 1966 2-shilling coin, or you've inherited a bag of them from your grandparents. What is its value? First, let's be clear. The 1966 florin was never made of silver. By this time, UK silver coins were made from a copper-nickel alloy, giving them that familiar silvery look, but with no precious metal content. So, its value is not in its melt value, but in its numismatic or collectible value. And here's the key fact. The Royal Mint struck over 144 million of these coins. That's a colossal number. It was minted in such huge quantities precisely because it was going to serve a dual purpose, as a 2-shilling piece right up to 1971, and as a 10p piece for years afterwards. Because of this, finding one is incredibly easy. Let's break down the value into categories. If your coin is worn, with the high points of the design flattened and little to no original luster, it's worth, well, not much more than its face value. In today's decimal money, its face value is 10p. As a collectible, a worn 1966 florin is typically worth between 20p and 50p. It's a great, affordable coin for a young collector or to fill a hole in an album, but it won't pay for a holiday. This is where things get more interesting. If you have a coin that saw very little circulation, with sharp details, and some of its original mint luster, the value increases. An extremely fine example might fetch £1 to £3, but the real prize is a true uncirculated coin, one that never entered.
Incredibly unlikely you'll find the famous error. The thrill of the hunt is part of what makes coin collecting so exciting. That if you have a 1966 florin, let me know in the comments what condition it's in. And if you have any other coins you'd like me to feature in a future video, drop a comment below. The 1966 2-shilling coin, or florin, is not just a coin. It is the final chapter in a 117-year story of monetary reform, imperial identity, and numismatic art. To understand its significance, we must travel back to the middle of the 19th century. The story begins in the Victorian era. Britain's coinage was a complex and ancient system of pounds, shillings, and pence, but the world was modernizing. There was a growing movement towards a decimal currency system, a system based on units of 10, which was seen as more logical and efficient for international trade. In 1849, as a first step towards this potential decimal future, Chancellor of the Exchequer Sir William Ewart Gladstone introduced the florin. Its key feature was that it was valued at 2 shillings, or 1/10 of a pound. This was a deliberate nod to a decimal system, where the major unit would be divided into 10 parts. This first florin, known as the Gothic florin, was a beautiful and unique coin. It featured a young Queen Victoria in a Gothic-style portrait, with the legend Victoria Regina without the usual Dei Gratia, by the grace of God. This omission caused a massive public outcry, branding the coin the godless florin. The scandal was so great that the design was quickly altered in 1851 to include the religious title, but the denomination had been established. For over a century, the florin was a staple of British currency. Its design evolved with each monarch, reflecting the artistic trends of the era. After the abdication, the florin resumed with the English rose design and later a simpler, plainer design post-World War II. Throughout this period, the coin's composition also changed. Initially minted in 0.925 sterling silver, it was reduced to 0.500 silver in 1920 due to economic pressures, and finally, in 1947, it lost all its silver content and became a copper-nickel coin, the material of the 1966 issue. By the 1960s, the pressure for Britain to go decimal had become overwhelming. The old system was cumbersome. The government officially announced that decimal day would be 15th February 1971. A key part of the plan was to make the transition as smooth as possible. The new system would have a 10p coin that was identical in size, weight, and value to the old 2 shilling piece. This meant the old florins could continue to circulate alongside the new 10p coins for years, preventing a costly and immediate recall. This is the central historical context for the 1966 2 shilling coin. It was minted not just as a regular issue for the pre-decimal system, but with the explicit knowledge that it would become a bridge coin into the new decimal era. 1. The last of its kind. It was the final 2 shilling coin struck for general circulation in Britain. No more were minted after 1966, as the Royal Mint focused on producing the new decimal coins. 2. Mass production. The Royal Mint produced a staggering 144,459,000 examples. This enormous mintage was specifically to ensure there were enough coins to function as both 2 shillings before 1971 and as 10p pieces after. This is why it is so common today. 3. The Swan Song design. It used the English rose reverse design by Edgar Fuller and Cecil Thomas, which had been introduced in 1953 for Queen Elizabeth II's coronation. This design, featuring the Tudor rose, thistle, leek, and shamrock, was a final, beautiful representation of the 4 nations of the United Kingdom on a pre-decimal coin. 4. The obverse portrait. It features the Mary Gillett portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. This was the portrait used on all pre-decimal UK coins from her accession until 1968. Its use on the 1966 florin marks it as part of the bold coinage family. On decimal day, the 1966 florin seamlessly became a 10 new pence piece. It continued to circulate for over 2 decades until a smaller, more convenient 10p coin was introduced in 1992. The old florins, and the identical early 10p coins, were officially demonetized in 1993, meaning they could no longer be spent in shops. Today, we're talking about a coin so common, you probably have a handful of them right now in a jar, or at the bottom of your bag. It's the humble, the chunky, the often overlooked, 1971 2-pence piece. But what if I told you this coin is one of the most important, most revolutionary coins in the entire history of British currency? What if I told you that this little piece of copper-plated steel holds the key to a monetary earthquake that changed the nation forever? Stick with me, because today we're not just looking at a coin's value, we're uncovering its incredible story of value. We're going to explore its birth, its design secrets, and answer the question on everyone's mind: is the 1971 2-pence sitting in your change right now actually a hidden treasure? To understand the 1971 2p, we have to travel back in time. Before 1971, British money was complicated. We're talking pounds, shillings, and pence. There were 12 pence in a shilling and 20 shillings in a pound. That's 240 pence to the pound. It was a system rooted in centuries of tradition, but for a modern, swinging 60s Britain heading into the 70s, it was a nightmare. Calculations were difficult. Tourists were confused. The government decided it was time for a change. A monumental change. They called it decimalization. The plan was simple but radical: slash the pound into 100 new pence, not 240. This meant that the familiar florins, shillings, and sixpences were on their way out. A new family of coins was needed, and the 2-pence piece was a crucial member of that new family. So, let's get a closer look at this piece of history. The design of the 1971 2p was entrusted to Christopher Ironside, a renowned artist and medalist. On the obverse, we have the portrait of a young Queen Elizabeth II by Arnold Machin. This is the classic, elegant portrait that became iconic. It's surrounded by the legend, Elizabeth II D.G.Reg.F.D. 1971 ***, Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith. This symbol has been associated with the heir to the British throne since the 14th century. But why was it chosen for a common 2p coin? Well, it was a nod to continuity. The same design had been used on the old pre-decimal silver threepence. By carrying it over, Ironside provided a comforting link to the past amidst all the change. It was a symbol saying, "Don't worry, Britain is still Britain." And a fun fact for you, the original 1971 coins were minted in bronze, 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, 0.5% tin. They were heavy, they were chunky, and they had a very distinct feel. This would become important later. Alright, let's get to the heart of the matter. You found a 1971 2-pence coin. You're holding it in your hand. What is its value for the vast, and I mean vast, majority of 1971 2p coins? The answer is pence. ****. I know, it's anticlimactic. But hear me out. Over 1.4 billion 2-pence coins were minted in 1971 between the London and Lantricent mints. They are, by any measure, extraordinarily common. So, in its circulated condition, your 1971 2p is worth exactly its face value as legal tender. A 1971 2p that has been in circulation for over 50 years is going to be worn, scratched, and dull. But what if you found one that was never spent? One that was saved as a souvenir of Decimal Day. A 1971 2p in brilliant uncirculated, BU, condition, with its original luster and no marks, can be worth a few pounds. We're talking £3 to £5, maybe a little more to the right collector. It's not life-changing, but it's a 1,500% profit on its face value. So, check for those sharp details and that original reddish gold shine. Now, this is the Holy Grail. In the frantic minting of over 1 billion coins, mistakes happened. The most famous and valuable of these is the 1971 new pence mule. Mule, in numismatics, is a coin that uses obverse and reverse dies that were never meant to be paired together. In this case, the Royal Mint had already prepared new dies for the 2-pence coin for 1982, which were supposed to say 2 pence instead of new pence. Somehow, a small number of the 1971 dated obverse were accidentally paired with the star 1982 star 2 pence reverse dies. Finding a 1971 coin with 2 pence on it is the dream. It's incredibly rare. Only a handful are known to exist. If you were to find one of these in your change, you would be looking at a coin valued in the thousands of pounds, one sold at auction for over £8,000. So, before you spend that 2p, turn it over and read the text. Is it new pence, or is it the life-changing 2 pence? The story of the 2p doesn't end in 1971. Remember I said the original was bronze? In 1992, due to the rising cost of copper, the Royal Mint changed the composition to copper-plated steel. This is a really easy way to tell the old from the new. The bronze coins feel heavier and don't stick to a magnet. The steel ones are lighter and are magnetic. This change also means that all the original 1971 bronze coins, while common, are a piece of a bygone era in terms of material. So, let's bring it all together. The 1971 2 pence coin is a paradox that in pure monetary terms, it's almost worthless. But in historical and cultural terms, it is priceless. It was a soldier on the front line of Britain's biggest monetary change in centuries. It helped a nation navigate a confusing transition. It's a tangible piece of a defining moment in modern British history. Its value isn't just in the copper or the potential for a rare error. Its value is in its story. It represents progress, modernization, and the end of a system that had lasted for over 1,000 years. So next time you get one in your change, don't just dismiss it. Take a second to look at it. Feel its weight. Look at the feathers. Remember decimal day. Remember that in 1971, this coin was the future. Early strikes, 1668 to 1684 ***. The first 2 pence coins for general circulation were minted during the reign of King Charles II. These were small silver coins, part of the new milled coinage that was machine-made to prevent clipping and counterfeiting. They were tiny, about 13 millimeters in diameter, and easily lost. The Monde tuppence, ***, while not issued for circulation, the tuppence denomination has been continuously minted since 1668 as part of the royal Monde ceremony. These special coins, given by the monarch to deserving elderly people on Maundy Thursday, are still minted in sterling silver to this day and are highly prized by collectors. The crisis ***. By the late 18th century, Britain was suffering from a severe shortage of small change. The Great British penny was scarcely seen, and the economy was stifled. The situation was exacerbated by the wars with France. The solution ***. The industrialist Matthew Boulton, using steam-powered presses at his Soho Mint in Birmingham, offered a solution. He proposed a massive, heavy 2 pence coin made of pure copper. The cartwheel design ***, minted in 1797, this coin was a marvel of industrial age propaganda. It was huge, diameter *** 41 millimeters, over 1.5 inches, weight *** 2 ounces, 56.7 grams, design ***. It featured a classic Britannia design on the reverse and the bust of King George III on the obverse. The raised rim on both sides inspired the name cartwheel, as it resembled the iron bands on a cartwheel. The philosophy ***. Its immense size and weight meant its intrinsic metal value was very close to its face value. This was intended to restore public confidence in the coinage and prevent counterfeiting. It was literally a penny's worth of copper for a penny. The tuppence was worth 2 pennies worth of copper. While effective, the cartwheel was too heavy and cumbersome for everyday use and was only minted for 1 year. After the cartwheel issue, the tuppence denomination fell out of favor for general circulation for over 170 years. Britain muddled through with its system of 12 pence to the shilling and 20 shillings to the pound. The need for a comprehensive decimal system, base 10, became increasingly apparent in the 20th century, especially as other countries around the world adopted it. The legend ***. Crucially, the first issues from 1971 to 1981 bore the words, "New Pence," on the reverse, to help the public distinguish the new decimal coins from the old point one. The 2 pence mule, 1983. The most famous error in modern British coinage. In 1982, the Royal Mint correctly changed the reverse legend from "New Pence" to 2 pence. However, a very small number of coins were mistakenly reverse dies. These 1983 dated mules are extremely rare and valuable, worth thousands of pounds. Point 2. The Great Composition Change, 1992. Due to the rising cost of copper, the Royal Mint changed the composition of the 2p coin from bronze to copper-plated steel. This made the new coins lighter, magnetic, and more prone to rusting if the plating was damaged. All 2p coins from September 1992 onward are made of steel. This makes the pre-1992 bronze coins, while still common, a distinct historical issue. Point 3. The last, New Pence, 2008. A fascinating and rare event occurred when the Royal Mint, needing to supplement a shortage of 2p coins, accidentally used an old stock of original bronze blanks from the 1970s. This resulted in a small number of 2008 dated coins with the new Pence legend being released into circulation. These are also highly sought after by collectors. In 2015, as part of a major review of the UK's coinage, the government considered withdrawing the 1p and 2p coins because of their low purchasing power and high cost of production. While this was ultimately dismissed, it highlights the changing role of small change in a cashless society.